Amanda.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Madoka Magica Season 1, Episode 10. Sayaka and Kyoko are gone.
That ending image that we got, like the art that we got at the very end of the episode, that like literally sent me into a tailspin of like wanting to cry my eyes out.
Yeah.
I love that this show includes art in the ending. I don't know if it's like official manga art, cover art, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it feels like a love letter.
You know what it feels like? It feels like, well, sometimes like mangakas like will just do like non-canonical art to just celebrate something happening within the world or within their own story. And it's just like the same characters in that story are doing something out of character, out of context. And it just makes you really happy to see. And that's exactly how I felt. I think just the duo arc of what they did with Kyoko and Sayaka really hit me. But while Purgishnat's coming, it seems like Kyubei's getting everything that they want, and Homura is going towards a reality that might look like Madoka accepting a contract with Kyubei.
Right. Homura's trying very hard to protect something that means a whole lot to her. But like you said, it seems like at this moment, Kyubei is getting more of what they want.
Seems like we're just setting ourselves up to see what we saw in the first episode.
Mm-hmm. The first episode.
All right, you ready?
I think so.
Sweet.
The first time she met Madoka? No way, right?
No way. Wow. So it was like a fixed point in time that Homura comes to the school at this point. Look, like, it's so weird to see Homura like this. This is the same spot. Oh my god.
Oh my god, and the turning around. You should become cool to match your name. She did it.
It's completely flipped. Holy shit. Do you think it's just a different Kyubei?
A witch.
Holy shit.
She's saved. She's in a labyrinth.
That's a fucked up looking labyrinth.
When a human goes in a labyrinth. That was pink. The color was pink. Mommy's alive! Oh my god!
Madoka's already a magical girl here? What the fuck? Madoka has a bow!
What?
What the fuck?
Did Sayaka not make a contract? Last week.
Wow. Mm.
ルギスの夜が来る前に頑張って一人前になっておいてもらわないとね。 頑張って一人前になっておいてもらわないとね。
Mm.
うん。
Mm.
まずはやっつければそれだけ大勢の人が助かるわけだしやりがいはあるよね。
Wow.
It's the same thing but flipped. Holy shit. I cannot believe I'm seeing this.
One of my proudest accomplishments. That in this time I could have saved you.
I want to redo my meeting. Wow. Oh my god.
Time.
No way it's the first time. Yeah, it's not the first time. How does she get to redo it again and again and again?
How many times has she been trying? No wonder she said she's basically inhuman.
Oh, shit.
They work together.
Is it a golf club? Like a driver?
My heart is literally about to break.
How to make a bomb. Oh my god, Homura. The chairs. Whoa.
Oh my god.
God, it's so cool. Holy shit! The animation.
Look at it! Grief seed! Holy...
What the fuck?
In the aftermath of Walpurgisnacht. She's learning the reality.
How many times has it taken?
Sayaka.
Fucking guns.
She's gonna think of something else.
Yo! Oh my god! Homura is the coldest anime character that I've ever seen in my entire life. This is fucking crazy.
Kyoko, what have you done to Sayaka?
But Madoka's a magical girl this time.
So she still becomes one, but it's different.
Yeah.
Is it Hitomi still looks like... It looks like Hitomi's still a reason.
Even with all 4 of them, they couldn't have stopped Walpurgisnacht?
Wow, they still have their arc. That's crazy.
What? Oh, Madoka! Oh my god!
What the? What?
Look at how much pain she's in.
The 2 of them together couldn't do it.
Oh. She did have one more.
She saved her. Only you can do. Go back in
Madoka
time.
asked it.
No matter how many times. Oh my god.
Holy shit. Oh, what a visual. I won't let Madoka fight anymore.
She has the most knowledge of it, but this is what Madoka sees. The future.
Is Madoka here? Is this what we saw, or is
I
this
think so.
different? 'Cause
I
this
think
looks
this
very
is-
close to what we saw. Yeah,
Yes!
fuck. God damn it.
Both of them wanting to change the ending.
With a single shot. Jesus,
10
fuck.
days. What? Mankind's problem, not ours. In the past. Look at that. Yes! This is what we know!
Mm-hmm.
The look on her
God.
face.
Locked in this endless maze.
Stop! What? The opening at the end?
I've never experienced an OP that I've watched for 9 episodes being like, this is amazing and I'm so excited to see this, and now I'm disgusted watching it because this is a sad fucking thing. This is every picture of Madoka as a magical girl now is fucked up to me.
It's not even her, it's not her imagination anymore.
It's all the past
the realities
that has ended in her fucking dying or becoming a witch. God fucking damn it. And you know what? We deserve it. We have to watch it.
Oh, look! Did you see?
Yeah. Okay, that was Madoka Magica Season 1, Episode 10. I have 2 things that I'm trying to decide which to, like, talk about first. And I can't decide. So, pick one for me.
Okay.
A or B?
Oh, I don't even get to know what they are?
Yeah.
B.
Okay. Homura might be one of my favorite anime characters of all time.
I'm totally feeling that, yeah.
Easily, like top 5, top like 3,
Definitely.
Watching. How I wrote it down in my notes while watching the episode, so I remembered to talk about it. I wrote down the word Homura's growth, and that sounds like such a weird way to put it. Because what is growth? Technically, of course, that's what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to see how she became the Homura that we know.
How she grew into it. But it doesn't really feel as positive as growth normally sounds when you're talking about a character. Like, normally they've grown into something that is a better version of themselves, a happier version of themselves. They're excelling at being, like an ideal. And yes, in a way, she's excelling at being some sort of ideal version of herself, but not like a peaceful world, happy her, healthy version of herself. It's more so she's becoming less human and more like a monster.
In terms of seeing like the details of actually what changed within her and what changed in her own process of trying to become a magical girl and trying to make use of her powers and trying to understand time magic, and then utilizing like how to make a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have the entire discourse with Sayaka that leads you into like, okay, I need to find something other than a bomb. She goes looking in lockers, finds katanas and fucking guns.
Mm-hmm.
Like like it exceeded every one of my expectations I could have possibly had for there are often times in shows that you have a character that you don't get the the exposition or like finding out who they really are, how they came to this point for a while. And then when you do, it hits a lot of the time. But this is my favorite one. This is my favorite time. There was so many details, and it was such a massive, it was such a stark contrast of what the Homura we got at the start of the episode was compared to the Homura that we know. And immediately when they set that up, I'm like, okay, one of 2 things is going to happen. One, you're going to skip over a lot and it's going to be a montage to get Homura to end up the way that we know her as. Or 2, they're going to try to force change within 1 timeline or 2 timelines, and it's not going to feel as natural. And they did neither. They showed so much, and they did it so well. And to move on to my point A, this episode, I've loved every episode of the series so far, but this episode 10 of Madoka Magica, has solidified this show as one of my favorite shows of all time that I've ever watched.
I'm going to agree with that. There's something so cool about this fact that we're getting a full circle in a way here, even though this isn't like a finale episode, with bringing back the opening scene we get in episode 1 of, oh, is this a dream? Have we met her before? Is this the past? Is this the future? What's happening here? And everything is making so much sense and being like laid out in front of us so perfectly here, with like seeing these other iterations. Like, of course, originally it's just Madoka and Mami. But then, as soon as Homura starts meddling, trying to kind of prolong the time period before Madoka becomes a magical girl, if not, like, make it not happen, Sayaka then becomes a magical girl. Then she's involved. This idea that Sayaka is also weirdly maybe uncomfortable or protective when other magical girls are involved. It's not just Kyoko that attention or like conflict is with, it's also with Homura, which I find really interesting to maybe talk about with Sayaka's character, that it's not just about Kyoko. It's like any other magical girl that isn't Mami and her best friend Madoka is like a possible threat.
Yeah. And I mean, I in a funny way, I do like completely understand Sayaka. Like, if you're a close range fighter and you have bombs exploding, like, yeah, I get where that's coming from. So, in terms of like the first iteration of Homura that we see, like, God, it was so satisfying and mind blowing to see like just how bookend it is in like Madoka and Homura's positions and what they are to each other versus like the original timeline, I guess, or the first timeline versus the one that we came to know. That was beautiful and like so well done. And seeing where in the later iteration where she really focuses in on Kyubey being the fucking monster that they are, and showing up to Madoka's house in the middle of the night being like, if somebody tries to do this, don't do it. And then like you can see her already like having killed a Kyubey there. Like, seeing what specific decision would have led to an outcome that Sayaka's even involved versus when she wasn't, you know, it's God.
There's a few things, like my mind is like racing. So in Sayaka, when she will inevitably always become a witch. Obviously, that is what we're learning for all of the magical girls is the case. Sayaka, unfortunately, becomes a witch pretty quickly in any iteration that she is a magical girl.
I mean, not the first iteration. Like, Sayaka...
Well, not the first iteration, because she isn't a magical girl.
Yeah.
I meant, like, in a world where she is a magical girl, she quickly becomes a witch.
Yeah.
And Hitomi is definitely in that labyrinth. Like, represented in that labyrinth. So something comes up with Hitomi, whether it's Hitomi finally tells Sayaka, like, hey, I also have a crush on him, even if he's still in the hospital, like Kamijo. There has to be still some conflict with Hitomi, and I feel like Kamijo is the only conflict we can think would actually end up pushing Sayaka over any sort of edge. Maybe something does happen, unfortunately, for Sayaka that we know. Maybe Kamijo's prognosis wasn't actually as, life-ending and you'll never get this mobility back ever again as she thought when she made a contract. Maybe in that path or that life, Kamijo does return to school and is fine, or like at least healing to some degree. Maybe he can't play violin anymore, but he does still return to school. Therefore, Hitomi still has the whole conversation with Sayaka about, I'm gonna confess to him.
Yeah.
That could still happen, whether he can play violin or not, he can still return to school. And I'm floored by that. I think that another thing I really want to talk about is the idea of a character. It's so real to think, if you were in Homura's shoes, okay, this next time that I'm going to try, I'm going to just tell them the truth. Like, at least me as a person, I don't know, I don't think you would do it, but me as a person, I'm like, the truth is the best. You should always go with the truth first and, you know, like, hope that they understand, you know, because I hate lying.
Yeah.
So I would attempt the truth first. I would maybe be strategic with how I laid it out on the table for people, but I think I would at least try it first, especially if I had the ability to still use the time magic and it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Okay, I want to make that clear distinction though. Like, so I think you're equating telling the truth to doing a similar thing to what Homura did.
Yes.
Me, I'm not saying I like lying. Of course not.
You're
I'm
more
saying that
strategic than
I'm going to wake up in that hospital bed, realize that I'm back where I am, be like, all right, it'd be fucking crazy to run up in the middle of class and call Madoka out as a magical girl. Not gonna do that.
Exactly.
That's the distinction.
See, you'd
not
be
lying.
a lot better at being in Homura's shoes than I would, or even maybe Homura would.
No, though.
Because my initial reaction would have been not to run up to her. I would not have done that in the middle of the classroom. That is the one thing that I'm gonna say, Homura, that was a silly move on your part in public.
I love it so much.
I do also love it. But what happens is that in this path that we're in, that we've been watching unfold, she obviously doesn't go with kind of being forthcoming with information, therefore is choosing and has even awareness herself that it is ostracizing her from, there's like not a trust level there. The trust level is hurt by her not being forthcoming with information, especially when we start to learn things. And it's like, wait, Homura, you knew this? Like when Sayaka's soul gem gets flown onto the car and they're all like, wait, you knew about this? She's now in a position of having withheld things.
A couple things. One, I do want to make the distinction that like I'm talking about it and we both are like, oh yeah, it's so silly that Homura ran up to Madoka.
Oh, yeah.
This is a girl who just lost her best friend and like she's going through the most traumatic time of her life, and especially the Homura that we know, I applaud Homura for not breaking to the point that like I probably would have. She is fucking a king. But what was that last point that you had just made too? Because I had something else that I trailed off.
The idea of like the withholding information.
Okay, so yeah, so it's like I agree with like the idea of like breaking that trust, sure, but it was really interesting to watch what that did when like there was context that we were given through language with that Sayaka Mami interaction that it seemed like Homura did her best to tell the truth and be like, yo, Kyubei's fucking evil. And that created discourse of why are we even like listening to her? She's probably lying. She's probably trying to like start arguments, you know?
And then when they realize it was the truth later on, they all freaking die except for Madoka. Madoka shoots Mommy because Mommy's gonna shoot Homura.
Okay, that entire interaction of like I actually we can talk about it now if we want to, because I know exactly where in the episode where it was, because it was so significant. But it was right after Homura blows up the witch that Sayaka had become, you know? And immediately Mommy like is reacting, fucking kills Kyoko right off the bat, wraps up Homura, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why does Kyoko get griefed here? Like, what the fuck is that? And then, like, I've grown to love Kyoko, and I'm like, why did Kyoko, like, Homura got tied up. Kyoko just got fucking bodied. And then Mommy says, if soul gems give birth to witches, then we have no choice but to die, do we? Both you and me.
She's basically like a suicide pact here, so none of us become witches, but no one else gets to like agree to that pact. She's just like...
The expression on Mommy's face. She's broken. Yeah. She's fucking
crazy.
Like... Oh my god. And then Madoka has to kill Mommy. Jesus Christ.
Did she have to kill Mommy?
I don't know, man. She just saw Mommy kill Kyoko.
That's fair. And she's broken also.
Jesus
I think it's
Christ.
So like crazy how it's like a one-shot kill. Like if you were to shoot someone, you know, your aim would have to be perfect for it to be a one-shot kill. But the fact that there is a singular location that they literally exist in, which is the soul gem, and just to shatter that.
Man, and speaking of one-shot kills, we kind of, like, were touching around the idea of, like, is it inevitable, like, of just like is the inevitable outcome with any magical girls ever existing going to result in magical girls never existing and it just being witches? And we kind of got that answered here because Madoka one-shotted Walpurgisnacht after making the deal with Kyubey, and then immediately after, Kyubey's like, yup, she defeated it. It's inevitable. Witch. And it's like, what the fuck, man?
10 days.
Before she destroys the entire planet.
Before she destroys the entire planet. But it was worth it to the aliens, to the Kyubeis.
They almost met their quota.
They almost met... Oh, darn it, you know, maybe in this path or this line, if we had found some other impressionable young girl, we would have met our quota. But nope.
Man, there are a couple lines I definitely want to talk about, like even
and parallels, definitely.
And parallels. They're starting out the episode when they're in the same place that we saw the conversation happen, the same walkway on the nurses. Homer's like, I guess I don't live up to my name. And Madoka's like, that's such a waste. You were blessed with such a great name. You should become cool to match it. Oh.
Is it Akemi or Homura that is Flame? That is the cool name that she doesn't like.
I think it's Homura, but I could be wrong. Is it okay if I call you Homura too? I don't really get called by my first name very much.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Homura.
Oh, so cool.
And what we get from that is this idea of becoming cool to match your name.
Yeah.
Like Madoka puts it out there, like just become like cooler, like so you like live by that name and it makes sense, and you know, some self-love there. You can be cool, girl.
I thought it was so fascinating what the actual wish Homura made was. Like, I had no great guesses because of, like, because to be given time magic from the creature that was in another timeline surprised about time magic and would be working against the ideals of Kyubey. I was like, it has to have been such like a Kyubey, by granting this wish, wouldn't have even known the potential of what Homura was able to do with it, you know?
That's okay, you're bringing up like a really interesting question here with like, can Kyubey deny certain wishes? Like, could he have been like, you know, but I need Madoka to be a magical girl because quota and because potential. So why would I grant... Like, a contract would be mutual, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this isn't in Kyubey's best interest unless he believes there's no freaking chance.
It's like
impossible for Homura to actually save Madoka from this fate.
So let's break it down. The wish is, I want to redo my meeting with Madoka, right? If you're Kyubey, you're like, okay, how do I make that wish happen? If Homura wants to redo that meeting, and it has to tie in with the ability of being a magical girl, it's not as simple as Kyubey being like, okay, sending you back in time, you get to redo it. No, it has to deal with the power of being a magical girl. That's the contract. So it needs to give Homura the ability to go back and redo that wish. It's
that
interesting.
Specific time, you wake up in the same bed, like Groundhog's Day. You can't just go to a random point in time. You are always going back to this one, like, what is it? It's like 1 week before Walpurgisnacht or something like that.
It's interesting because within that, there's that, like, nuanced, like, what if Kyubey could have, like cultivated this magical girl power that it's like, okay, you can use time magic only once though, you know, because obviously that wasn't the route that he went. It was, okay, time magic, and it's giving Homura the ability to do this again and again.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyubey doesn't actually even know how things are going to play out in terms of what the power is going to be like. He just knows what the potential of the person might be in terms of their, like, strength and how wicked of a witch they'd be.
So the second part of this wish, I don't want it to get lost on us. But this time, instead of her protecting me, I want to become strong enough to protect her. Is there a reality that we could live in for a second that her wish is still coming to fruition currently, and the idea of her becoming strong enough to protect Madoka has been this episode, her going through all these different iterations of tragedy to harden her own resolve and like skills so that inevitably she will become strong enough to protect her.
It's like that conversation with Sayaka and Kyubey when Sayaka finds out that like mommy had like innate potential, Madoka has like this, or like had talent, and then like some have innate potential like Madoka, and Sayaka kind of just didn't have those things and felt like she had to work harder, push harder. Homura is basically doing that whole thing, and it's basically like a slap in the face to the idea that a strong magical girl would need to have already a potential or a talent for it, and that through hard work and dedication and resolve and care they maybe could. Like, you're really right for bringing up what we saw at the beginning of this season was not this path's future, it was the past. It was a future in the past. It is not wherever this current storyline is leading. Hopefully, at least we don't think so, because this Madoka knows not to listen to Kyubey, or at least knows that what Kyubey's attempting to do in comparison to the Madoka before, who didn't really know what Kyubey was all about.
Yeah. It's really fascinating how it like the growth that we've seen that differentiates the timeline that we're in versus the attempts that we saw is like Madoka having to find out what Kyubey is and the truth of like as a consequence of what's happening to her friends and discovering it for herself. Like Homura is present always, like in trying to like keep Madoka safe, but is way less hands-on, and is like, you're gonna learn yourself how fucked up Kyubey is by you deciding to throw off Sayaka's soul gem, you know? Like, you're learning yourself all the fucked up nuances.
There's like even more so a level of love and care there, because not only is Homura like a little more hands-off, so that in this way, and not hands-off in the way that she was before, which was keeping Madoka completely away from the world. She realizes, at least in the timeline we're seeing, that Madoka does need to realize some truths, or she will still be swindled by Kyubey in the end.
Yeah. And
so here we have her kind of being hands-off, but still letting, like, not completely closing the world off to Madoka. But when Sayaka's soul gem gets thrown off, yes, it happens. And yes, of course, like, I'm pretty sure Homura was surprised by this action.
Yeah.
But she goes and gets it, because she's like, I want her to know the truth, but I don't want her to know the truth with also having killed her friend.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm gonna go save Sayaka's soul gem, but now we all know the truth, but no one's dead. So like, that's the perfect way to handle this situation.
Man, this would be such a fascinating show to rewatch. Like
I agree.
Homura has the perfect ability to go get and retrieve Sayaka's soul gem from that truck. Like, perfect. I loved, like, I mentioned it before, and just how much I appreciate how well written Homura is, but watching her, like, through Mommy was the teacher to Homura at first, and watching Mommy call out what time magic is, and Homura running up to a fucking trash can with a golf driver and just beating the shit out of it like clumsily is one of my favorite things in this entire show. It's so great.
So in terms of the time magic, in terms of longevity of, I'm gonna say, if she were to turn back time, she can only go to that fixed point, but she can freeze time for intervals.
She can freeze time for intervals. I am not 1,000% confident in saying that she can only go back to that day. That is the impression I get, but nothing was solidified within dialogue that told me that was the only possibility. Like,
I feel like if it wasn't, then she would have attempted, maybe if I do the day before and I have more time with her. But also, she was just getting cleared out of the hospital. So if she had gone back for her, because she's going back in her own body, in her own life, Therefore, she will be in whatever circumstance or situation or place she had been at that time. So she might not have been able to even leave the hospital yet. If she had, like, the doctors wouldn't have even let her.
So, okay, question for you.
Okay.
Do you think that... Which was the iteration that we got of Homura showing up in Madoka's window?
That was one of the... Really great question. It's once she lets her hair down, basically. It was her first attempt at, It was her last attempt, I think. It was the attempt before the path that we're in.
So what's really fascinating is that, like, her getting right up and doing shit and not waiting to go to school, like, what was the line? Okay, so let's take this into consideration, right? When she actually got up and said, no one's gonna believe me about the future, she woke up, let her hair down, and, like,
Fixed her eyes.
Yeah, broke out of the hospital, basically. That, compared to the first iteration, where Madoka and Mommy save Homura, and they talk to her. Mommy's the real veteran. I actually just made my contract with Kyubey last week. So, in the timeline we know, Madoka is not a magical girl, obviously. In the first iteration that we see with Homura, it's her first day back at school anyway, but presumably Madoka's already a magical girl.
Oh.
Or very like the idea of, I actually just made my contract with Kyubey last week. Was there time between Madoka and Homura having that name conversation?
I'm gonna say yes.
With like between Homura getting like witch attacked?
My guess is it's going to be a school week. And so then the hurt is going to be all of that time that I was nervous about my first week back at school and I'm shaking at the whiteboard. Madoka was going through it at night and then becoming a magical girl.
Yeah. And like, so like, let's say start of the week, not a magical girl, but by the end would become...
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. But like, that's interesting because in comparison to like what we saw happen... If Homura doesn't interrupt right away and start doing shit, Madoka's a magical girl for sure.
It's like she really does need to act as soon as she gets out of that hospital bed. Like it's a time crunch because we know Madoka is itching to become a magical girl. Madoka would have done it probably without any outside force kind of pushing for it. She immediately is dreaming about it when she hears of the possibility. I don't think it would need Mommy dying in front of her, being like super hurt in front of her for her to come up with it on her own. Because if we think about her and Mommy walking together in Mommy's death in this season, she already she's like talking to Mommy like, no, I'm definitely gonna do it. And Mommy's like, oh my god, I'm so excited that you're gonna do it with me. But then it doesn't happen.
What do you think Madoka's wish was?
At that time? I think her wish, or at least what she was thinking of at the time, was that to be someone who could save someone else was the most beautiful thing in the world to her.
Yeah.
And she was trying to figure out what to wish for, how to phrase that, what it is that she could ask for that would give her the ability to be someone that could save people. But it wasn't anything that she could like concretely think of to ask for.
So what would your best guess be? Are you like alluding to like maybe it was I wish to be strong enough to save people or to like be a good magical girl?
I wish to be a magical girl that can save people. Something
wild fan theory without thinking too much into it. What if her wish was that Sayaka didn't become a magical girl or some shit, or like forgot about it because we didn't see Sayaka within that interaction with Mommy?
Right, in that path Sayaka is not involved at all. So it could be that she used her wish for Sayaka.
Yeah, or for Mommy. Like, it's saving Mommy's life or something, too.
Right, but what's gonna keep Kyubey away from Sayaka? He's gonna go up to any girl he feels like has a wish. Yes, we know that Sayaka becomes a magical girl first because of the fact that like Homura kind of intervenes a bit but doesn't also protect Sayaka.
Yeah.
But in the first iteration, Sayaka is not there at the end, but
well,
Mommy is
Burgerschnatt.
still alive.
Yeah.
So there has to be something that is keeping Sayaka from becoming it, and it could be what I was thinking was maybe Kamijo really does just return to school. Or maybe does get better. But it is interesting that the only reason that Kyubey goes after Sayaka is because it's being prolonged, him getting Madoka.
What if Madoka was the one to wish for Kamijo's heal? Like, healing his hands and his ability to play. Because then Sayaka would never have a reason for Kyubey to prey on.
Mm-hmm.
And she,
Right. That she could say, because what it would be to her is that she could save someone else and she could make her friend happy at the same time.
Yeah.
So then in the second iteration, she becomes a magical girl. Yes, right? She becomes a magical girl, or already was one. Because I think the second iteration, Homura just chooses to fight with them.
Correct.
Instead of trying to stop Madoka from becoming a magical girl.
And the third
one, Sayaka has become a magical girl because of the fact that Homura has started trying to meddle and started trying to tell the truth to Madoka.
Yeah. So fucking fascinating.
It's like the timing of it. It's like if Kyubey has to wait even a day longer to get Madoka, he's gonna go after Sayaka. That's what it seems like. That is, as soon as he has Madoka, or Madoka makes a wish for Sayaka, one of those things, we obviously don't know for sure, then Sayaka's off the table.
Yeah.
We don't need her.
You know that, like, Homura is an important character in the series because there's not a crazy amount of chairs in her room. Like, look at that.
Her room is empty of chairs. You're right.
That speaks miles. But, dude, watching her, like, tinker with stuff, I'm like, okay, maybe you're, like, trying to make, like, maybe a bomb. But I'm not that crazy. I'd never say that. And then zoom into the glasses, and it's just how to make a bomb.
Okay, so do you want to know what my first thought was?
Huh.
My first thought is that it didn't make her not sick. And so I thought she was, like, mixing some sort of medicine that she needs to take for her heart condition.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yes, you're less human, and you're more like this exterior hardware, and your body's in your soul gem, and you heal faster. But for some reason, I thought to myself, what about those... Does Kyubey, like, approach sickly kids and then they wish to not be sick anymore and then they just become a magical girl and it's like, boom, well, you're not sick anymore because now you're just inside a soul gem and you just have exterior hardware as a body.
Well, she was okay enough to go back to school,
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, my first thought, which was stupid, was that she was mixing some sort of medicinal concoction for herself. And not a bomb.
One of my favorite pieces of animation in this entire series happened this episode when this was a really cool witch they were fighting. The labyrinth, yeah, it was really all like clothing lines and shit.
Like schoolgirl uniforms and clothing lines.
That was so fucking cool.
Really liked it. It was very different in terms of like the art and the aesthetic in comparison to a lot of the others. Because it looked very real world.
Yeah.
There was not this grittiness, really, until, like, the witch showed up to this labyrinth.
I loved them all, like, walking, like, on the clothing lines because it lends itself so well to how unprepared or new at this Homura is. She's, like, stumbling everywhere.
What she's doing currently is a balancing act between, like, being new to this thing, trying out her power that's new to her, while also trying to save someone, this first friend of hers. Her only friend.
She throws her bomb up the witch's skirt, explodes, destroys the witch, and then my favorite piece of animation wasn't the explosion, it was the dismount. Like, look at this, watch. Her falling, and Mommy's hair coming up and pushing her up to save her. It was so clean.
It was. Question for you. Did you think that you only could use magical weapons against witches in labyrinths? Because now that I know that Homura's gun is a real gun, And
Yeah.
her bombs were real bombs that she just brought with her inside the labyrinth. It was like a little shocking to me at first because I figured like you needed to use like magical girl bullets out of a magical girl gun to kill. But no, you can just literally bring a bomb with you.
Yeah.
That you mixed yourself in your bedroom at night.
Man, it was so fascinating to see Madoka lie about the grief seed. God, that fucking killed me on the inside. Being like, "Yep, we're out of this together. How about we?" And then Homer's like, "How about we just like become witches? Fuck the world. Like
we become monsters together.
Oh my God, what a line!" And then Madoka being like, "I lied. Grief seed. There's some things in this world
that are worth protecting." And she, oh my God.
The best part is that that's the turning point. That's the point that Homura wakes up and is like, I have to tell them that Kyubey is tricking us. Mm-hmm. This, like, Kyubey's fucked up.
Yeah. Because that's when she's truly learning the truth. And just the idea that no matter what, it's not even just Homura. In this fate that she's chosen for herself, by making this contract, she has almost forever locked herself and Madoka into an endless cycle of wanting to save each other. Because Madoka is never going to let her fight this alone unless she could actually one-tap it. Unless she could actually herself alone defeat Walpurgisnacht. Madoka is not going to let her die and fight by herself.
I'm so glad, like, thinking about what our ideas were at the start of the series, being like, oh, are we gonna get to that point? Like, it being utilized, like, the choice of utilizing it in, it's not actually our timeline now and we're watching it come to fruition. It was a part of Homura's most recent jump. Is phenomenal. It's mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Watching Homura go through this locker is hysterical to me when she's trying to find a weapon because...
Is it like a police station?
I don't know what it is.
I think it's like a police station.
I don't think...
She's like...
What police station has katanas in the lockers?
Is this like the mob?
Some mob, maybe. But, like... So she just came out of this conversation with Sayaka, and Sayaka was like, I don't love the idea of having someone on my team using explosives when you guys are long-range fighters and I'm close range.
Yeah.
And then Homura, being the fucking amazing character she is, she's like, oh, a close-range weapon. Nah, fuck that. I'm not gonna use that. Sayaka sucks. Like, and then using her, like, the time stop ability is so interesting because when she's touching it and interacting with it, like, it's colored, but then she's able to, like, suspend it within midair by letting it go. It's so cool. Then she just takes the massive gun and slides it into her shield with a shotgun too. I don't need, like, what, infinite storage? A box of bullets?
Yeah.
The box of ammo is so extra, and I absolutely love it. Man.
I couldn't be more happy with this dynamic that is now... I already loved like Madoka and Homura's dynamic that was being built throughout what we were seeing in the timeline we were seeing.
Oh, wait, sorry. I just wanted to say... I got it wrong for a second. The monsters together was the iteration after that. It wasn't the one that made her tell the truth. Sorry.
Gotcha. It's okay. It was a little bit like...
Yeah.
It was a lot happening and we were really into it. So not going to be spot on unless we like completely fact check ourselves.
Yeah.
But I really absolutely love... I think it was like pretty soon into the episode. But Madoka has a line... where she says that in this time, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not getting the exact line, that in this time I could save you is my proudest accomplishment. The idea of Madoka talking about it with the time involved in that quote too, and that both of them just want to like be the one protecting the other. But also Madoka is this character, she wants to protect everyone, but Homura... Madoka to Homura is her only friend and the reason she's doing this. This really different energy there between someone who's going to sacrifice their life for anyone and someone that's going to sacrifice their life for only one.
You know, something that's really fascinating is that, like, in that iteration that you're talking about, Madoka has no regrets. Madoka's very like is happy that she says that she's happy she made the decision to become a magical girl, and then she tries to fight Walpurgisnacht, falls in that fight, and dies, which leads to Homura's wish.
Mhm.
But Madoka doesn't. We don't see Madoka becoming a witch here. You know, this
Right.
is her ending her life fighting as a
Mhm.
magical girl. So that like what Kyubey's with his twisted shit, it hasn't tainted Madoka's ideals here, which I think is really interesting.
You're right. She doesn't, in this path that Homura becomes a magical girl, it seems like Madoka's literally just dead, but not a witch.
Yeah.
Which is, she has that one grief seed. Is that why?
I think it's because she
No.
died.
It's because she actually died in the fight.
Like, mommy didn't become a witch after she died.
Right.
She got killed, you know?
So what's the difference? Is it because...
Like, the soul gem's just done at the point of death, right? It doesn't get the chance to be turned into a witch.
So that means that in this time, Madoka fighting by herself isn't strong enough, is so weak against Walpurgisnacht that she dies.
Uh-huh.
But in the path or time period when she fights with Homura...
When she makes the wish, when Homura's fighting, she's able to one-shot Walpurgisnacht, but then immediately becomes a witch.
Mm-hmm. Because she survived it.
Super interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then in 10 days, she will destroy the world, and that's what we're looking for. Honestly, like, that's what we have to look forward to is, well, what do you think it's gonna change? Like, the fact that, like, I spent watching this show, I spent the whole time thinking that that first kind of future iteration that we saw in episode 1 was going to be the future, possibly, that was going to be Madoka doesn't become a magical girl until this moment where she runs up and sees Homura fighting by herself. That already happened, so that means that that can't be the same thing that happens here.
Yeah.
Mami's gone, Kyoko's gone, Sayaka's gone. Nothing has changed from the last iteration except maybe a flip-flopping of who's saving who.
Is there a way that Homura can take out Walpurgisnacht, even if it costs her her own life, so that Madoka is able to go forward not being a magical girl?
But that loop, think about it. Homura didn't make a wish or a contract until Madoka died.
Yep.
Madoka would then be in the same position, seeing a possibly... Like, Homura, if she's thinking about it, of a never ever, even if I'm not around, Madoka never becomes a magical girl, she either needs to rid the world of Kyubey and make it so Kyubey fills his quota and never needs to use the humans ever again, or Homura needs to survive against Walpurgisnacht and not become a witch herself.
Yeah.
It's the old, like, because Madoka is going to want to save the world. You can't stop her from wanting to save the world. That's just always going to be a part of her. And if she sees this witch Walpurgisnacht tearing apart the world and no one else there to fight it, she is going to decide to fight it. And then if there's a time where Homura does defeat Walpurgisnacht and then Homura becomes a witch, Madoka's gonna feel like she needs to be the one to defeat her friend.
Yeah. Man.
This was a good episode.
This is my favorite episode.
This was a really good episode.
I think that's all I have for now.
Yeah. I feel like the whole episode, I can't wait to, like, watch it back to, like, see what my face was like, because I feel like I kept being about to cry and being like like in multiple points throughout the episode, and then I would like compose myself again, and then I'd be like back to being like, oh my god, and then like compose myself again. It was just a loop. It was a loop.
Are you trying to say you want to edit this one?
I am, yeah, possibly. Just so I can see my facial expression, see how often it seemed like I was gonna cry.
Alright, you good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.